From penalty decisions, to verbal dissent, to violent conduct, we're refereeing in a brand new division. Is a church league really different from the regular Saturday football? My name's Eric, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Whistle. I'm a level 5 referee here in England, and I take you in the day in the life of what it's like to be a referee. Today, we are refereeing in the Bristol Churches Football League. We are reffing Rock Crusaders versus Woodlands Bristol Football Club. I've never refereed this division before, but the league got in contact with me and asked if I'd come up and do a game. I didn't have a game this weekend, so I thought I'd see how it would go. Is a church league that different from regular football? Let's see. Church League. Okay, first time refereeing on the Bristol Churches League, and what was different? Well, to be honest, not much. It's just football, except it's played at 10 in the morning, and some of the players on the pitch have a different worldview to most of those on a Saturday afternoon. What I will say is the general demeanour of the game was better than you will typically encounter on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon in the regular football pyramid. Unfortunately, it was a very, very one-sided game. Woodlands came out the 9-0 winners. But yes, let's jump in. So, I ran a total distance of 10.3 kilometers. To be honest, this is more than I expected to see. 5.2 in the first half, 5.1 in the second half. This game was so one-sided, like the most one-sided match I've ever refereed. And so a lot of the game was played in one half of the pitch and around, that final third area. So if we scroll down, yeah, you'll see here, the first half, I spent most time in one half, and if I was in the other half, I was only just in it, kind of shepherding play forwards, and a lot of time that ball was around that edge of the box area. If we compare that to another game, let's say my game last week at Quedgeley, you'll see how that first half period was much more concentrated around the middle of the pitch and on both halves. Similarly, on the second half, you'll see again, it's very concentrated up on one half of the pitch, and that was just again the nature of the game versus last week at Quedgeley where we had to cover the entire pitch. In terms of my sprints, we've got 42 sprints, 7 low, 28 medium, and 7 high. I don't know what constitutes a low, medium, and a high sprint. Maybe John or Hassan can comment down below and let me know what kind of speeds we're talking about here. But if we exclude the low sprints, you'll see we've made lots of medium sprints in all sorts of directions, and we've made a couple of high ones when needed. But still, like I said, the game was very one-sided, but I still tried to get my movement in as I could. But to be honest, I moved around more than I anticipated. Misconduct, we had a red card and we had a yellow card right in the 90th minute, but I didn't pop it on my watch because the game was over and I knew the player, so that's all done. And then yeah, just like last week, compared to last week, sorry, that heart rate is a lot lower. I think we reached like 180 something last week, only 174 this week, from an average heart rate of 138. So what's a little bit different is the way the game starts is with a prayer. So you chat to the captains in front of both of the teams so everyone can hear that conversation. And then the manager of the home team led us in prayer before we started the match. We get about 2 or 3 minutes into the game, and unfortunately one of the players notices some dog excrement, whatever you want to call it. And so this lucky gentleman has to come on and scoop it off. He attempts to scoop it once, unfortunately doesn't work, it's a little bit soft. So then he wedges his foot next to it to develop a divot. He then gets the cone in behind it and manages to scoop it up. Phenomenal performance, and probably my best bit of analysis all year. Then just 3 minutes after that, Woodlands go 1-0 up. Shortly after that, they go 2-0 up. So I'm in a bit of a bad habit of standing still when the cross comes in. So you'll see that gets played out to number 4. And then as he goes to play the ball, I'm kind of just stood still watching, right? And then as he plays that ball in, I'm still stood still. Don't get me wrong, I'm kind of scanning and looking at play. However, I'm still stood still. Ball comes in, challenge, nothing happens. It's a goal, but again, just a little bit lazy and just want to be a little bit more proactive in these sorts of scenarios. Shortly after that, we get this head injury. So it's just a coming together between the two players, but we stop to obviously make sure that the lad is okay. You'll hear, when you're out refereeing, you'll hear all the time, head injury ref, you've got to stop play. Or you might hear something like, no, don't stop, it's not a head injury. Now, does this matter and where does that even come from? This is under Law 5, which covers the referee, and it's a massive portion of law. If you're ever interested in reading the laws of the game, I'd read Law 5, very, very interesting. It's all about kind of your responsibilities, powers, duties as the referee. But anyway, we come under and we see injuries. Okay, let's see. What does it say? Allows play to continue until the ball is out of play if a player is only slightly injured. And then it says stops play if a player is seriously injured and ensures that that player is removed from the field of play. An injured player may not be treated on the field of play and may only re-enter after play is restarted. At no point here does it mention a head injury. Now, common sense would tell you if a player is holding their head, that has the potential to be serious, and so the safest thing to do is to just stop play. So when people shout head injury, what they really mean is a serious injury and referee should stop play. Now, does that mean that because it's not a head injury, if a player breaks their leg, you shouldn't stop play? Well, no, because as it says in law, the referee stops play if a player is seriously injured, right? So it doesn't have to be a head injury for you to stop play. It just has to be in your mind something that could potentially be serious. Now, ultimately, where most of us are refereeing in games that don't really matter, okay? They're just for the enjoyment of the game and for guys, girls to go out and play and have fun with their friends. So any kind of injury that has any potential to be serious, just stop it. It's the best and safest thing to do. People may get upset, but if somebody is seriously injured and you decide not to stop the game, then we could be in a world of trouble. So stop the play if you think an injury is anyway slightly serious. So if you stop play for an injury, you restart with a dropped ball. How does that work? So if play was stopped and the ball is inside the penalty area, it doesn't matter who's got the ball, you just drop it to the goalkeeper. This obviously isn't the case, and so we drop the ball to the team that had possession, which would have been Woodlands, the team in like the claret colour. The only exception of this is you can drop it for the team that would have gained possession. So if the ball was clearly going to run to a member of a certain team, you can drop the ball to that player as it was clear they were going to regain possession. That's a new law this year and one that's worth noting. All drop balls are uncontested, okay? I've heard of some referees doing contested drop balls where two players go and kick it at the same time. That is not part of the laws anymore. It's an uncontested drop ball and the other player must be at least 4 yards away. Sorry, 4.5 yards away. We then get a case of some, I don't know really what to call it, holding, mutual holding, both way holding, whatever you want to call it. So the ball gets played in and then the number 2 goes to go past. There's a little bit of hands on, which isn't really enough for me. And then he goes down to the floor and you'll see him complain about the holding. For me, both players are doing it. So you'll notice as he goes to break, number 2 kind of wraps his arm around the player in red. The player in red kind of gets a little bit of a hold of him, but as we can see, they're both kind of grabbing each other. And so for me, when I get this kind of situation, I'm not going to give a foul either way. I'm just going to let them continue to hold each other. And the number 2 goes to the ground for him trying to slide for the ball. He's not tripped or anything like that. And so for me, we just let it play. He asked me after this, kind of complaining about the holding, and I just explained to him that it's, you know, you're both doing it, and so it's not a foul for me. And then very shortly after that, Woodlands go 3-0 up. Yeah! And then 4-0. Yeah! They then go on the counter-attack and we have to make a decision around a penalty. So, is it a penalty? I'll tell you now, no. No, it's not. But let's take a look in a bit more detail. So the ball gets played in, takes a bit of a deflection. They clear it, and then the lad slides in to make a challenge. We'll see if we can see it on the zoom. We can. You can see that he gets his foot to the ball. It's actually a very good tackle. He gets his foot right to it. Let's watch it through again. Comes sliding in, and he gets his foot to the ball and pops it up as he collides with the other player and his foot. So good tackle. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. One thing that helped is that I had a really good angle on it. You can kind of see. You can see from where I am, I've got a very kind of clear view of things. I'm just kind of ahead of that number 24, so I can, I had a really clear view of the tackle, so no penalty for me. And then right before half time, Woodlands go 5-0 up. And that is half time. Not a lot really happened in terms of our involvement in the game, which is nice to see for once. However, the same cannot be said for the second half. So let's jump into it. Okay, so diving into the second half, we have a situation where I need to work on my positioning. So the ball breaks out left, which is fine. I get into a good position. The ball gets crossed in, and I get caught ball watching a little bit. Okay, the ball is played out. We try and move across. And then the ball gets cleared out. Nothing really happens, no big deal, but something we need to be mindful of. So as this ball gets played in, I'm going to slow it down and watch what I do. Watch me. Okay. I kept ball watching and I just keep running into the pitch. Now 14 has got the ball and I'm a bit stuck here because he can play it, he can just lay it off to his mate here, who can receive it, right? Or he's going to turn out and play it to the number 7. Unlikely he's really going to play any other pass here. Don't get me wrong, he could try and thread it into here, but it's unlikely. He's most likely just going to play it out to this player here. Now, what this means is that I am really kind of stuck in the position that I am in. So as he goes to play that ball, ideally we want to be kind of sweeping play like this. You know, almost like a, I don't know what you call it, like a sheepdog is how they're called. You know, the border collies that chase the sheep for the farmers. That's kind of what you want to be like. You kind of almost want to be sweeping play to keep it in front of you. And it's just because, unfortunately, I get caught in a bit of a crap position. So I have to kind of move across play in between the lines, which can obviously cause a lot of problems because almost like traffic, players are going to be coming in and out. So it's a bit annoying that I have to run through. And because I have to run across through traffic, you'll see that I get stuck behind these two players. So the number 2 obviously had complained about the holding in the first half and then complained about this tackle as well. So the ball's bouncing around, the number 11, 50-50. He gets his foot round to the ball, obviously knocks it off to the side, and then, you know, the number 2 puts his arms out to complain. He's asked me what part of the ball that he's played, and I've said to him that he's won the ball, he's knocked it round to the side. But he kept asking me about 5-10 seconds after this challenge as well. And then shortly after that, Woodlands go 6-0 up. We then get a foul that confuses a few people, and this is a really prime example of how referees can see the game differently to players and how things can not look like what they really were in real time. So you might be thinking, okay, like why is that a foul? And I'll show you why. If you look, you'll see that as the red player makes the challenge, he comes through the number 17's leg before winning the ball. They're a bit confused of how it's a foul, and for me it's obviously clear he's come through his leg, and I explain you just caught the lad before the ball, and so that's what makes it a foul. Woodies then go 7-0 up from this corner. And then out of absolutely nowhere, following the kickoff, we get a red card for violent conduct. So what happened? So the ball gets played in. This lad tries to win the ball back. He misses. It's a Tiny little clip on the foot. Blue carry on playing. He turns around and just boots him. Not much else to say really. It's a blatant red card. Obviously the lad's 7-0 down, frustrated, and yeah. But why is it a red card and what does it come under? As I said before, it comes under violent conduct. So violent conduct is when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent when not challenging for the ball, or against a teammate, team official, match official, spectator, or any other person, regardless of whether contact is made, right? So even if he wouldn't have made contact with him, if he tried to kick him like that with excessive force, then that would still be a red card. Somebody does not have to make contact with someone for it to be violent conduct. In addition, a player, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face with a hand or arm is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible. Right, so this occasion doesn't come into it. However, if somebody was to strike somebody in the face, whether you think it's brutal or just, you know, a little bit naughty, any contact with the head or face is a red card unless the force is negligible. Okay, so really important to keep in mind. So this, for me, easily violent conduct. This is brutal. This is used as excessive force. There's no need for it. You don't want this in the game. Red card. Woodlands then go 8-0 up. We then get this foul against blue team and they get upset about it. So for me, I've got a very clear angle on what's happening. Okay, I've got a very clear kind of line of vision. And as we can see, the contact from 17 is in the number 4's back. Now, a big clue that told me that this contact was in the back is because in previous, obviously they're not frames in my head in the moment, but previously, as that number 4 is going forward, I could see that he's put his arm across 17 to shield for it. So pure logic tells me if number 4's arm is ahead of number 17, then this can't be a shoulder-to-shoulder charge, challenge, whatever you want to call it. So for me, this is a push in the back, which is a foul. And so, yeah, that's why I've given the free kick. You'll then see these players complaining, and then the number 2 again comes all the way in and starts, you know, saying how it's shoulder to shoulder and that it's not a foul. So I tell him to move away. He turns around, starts complaining again, so I tell him to move away again. So I've probably had 4 instances now with this number 2. Woodlands after that then go 9-0 up. And then shortly after that, we give the number 2 a yellow card for Dissent. So the number 2 was asking for a free kick for that interaction, telling me that that's no different to the shoulder barge that we gave a free kick for on the edge of the box. I let play continue, they shoot, and then the number 2 turns around and asks me again, and so we show him a yellow card. There's about 10 seconds left of the game, but for me, this was the 5th or 6th time that I've had an interaction with him, and just because it's the end of the game doesn't mean that you can be rude to the referee and dissent their decisions. Again, with this being a church league, I imagine there's a lot of young people that try and get into the league. It's probably a good, I guess, avenue to get into open age football. I don't know if that's true. I'm speaking purely anecdotally off of what I experienced in the game, but I want to set a clear precedent. Obviously that's not acceptable, and I've already warned him multiple times in the game. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time. I hope you have enjoyed this week. A slightly different video, slightly different type of game. We'll be back next week with a county league match, and then the week after that we're getting observed for the 2nd time this season. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support, and I'll see you next week.